Today, we're going to talk about what is MIS, why we need to be focused on the data that we send to the state, and how we do it, and when, of course, when we have to submit that information to the state. That is really critical because that is part of the student funding formula. And today, I would like to encourage all of you to use the Chancellor's Office website. You can see right here, ccco.edu, because right now, Chancellor's Office is urging schools to make a better decisions and offer better resources that improve services and give students tools to achieve their goals. If you go to this website, you're going to see a link right here that is called data that Chancellor's Office has been provided for the last 5 years. They create so many tools based on our data and based on all community colleges data. And one of them is the student success metrics, effectiveness salary surfer, data Mart that is really important to all of us, data on demand. And this is the dictionary of the data elements for each department. So this is really useful for all of us. And also Launchboard. So this information, it has so many powerful data tools that the Chancellor's Office create for analytic to help us to all community college to make the better decisions based on the MIS data that we provide to the state every single term. What they do with our data, it's they ask us to send that information every term or by year, and they usually have a maintenance of this dictionary in order to standardize all the codes for all community colleges. So this is really tough duty. This is one of my duties, to have a maintenance on the records and maintenance on the programs that we create, to create those reports and send it to the state every term or every year. So what is MIS? So every term or every year, I talk to the department and I talk to your staff, depending on records that they handle it, depending on their duties. And I create a special report for every special population to meet the state requirements. So if the state requires something new, or if they create a new report, like the incarcerated, if they have a new cohort that they want to start to analyze and have been able to know how many students has been flagged as a DSPS or EOPS. We have to update the reports and have a business process in place in Banner to collect that information. Because remember that the source of all this information is Banner. So we have to work really closely with the staff in order to encourage them to input the data in a proper manner. So the way that I create the MIS is I create an Argos report that generates the MIS. I usually submit to the state. They check the information. They create the data mart, and they send that information to the federal, like to the IPS or scorecard or Launchboard. They use that data from the beginning to the end, and they really focus into our data, and they create a really good tool called Data Mart. That website is unprotected, and we can go ahead and check it out. And it's, like I said, it's unprotected. The reason that they have that in place is because they use that data to send it to the California information, and they go to CalPAS, Scorecard, IPAD, Perkins, and Doing What Matters and Data Mart. They usually check the data, and they have a check mark of the data quality. And based on this information, they decided to use it for funding formula or data-driven decisions too as well. And also they create like core metrics. And all this is part of the Chancellor's Office website. What is really important is that we need to know when we have to submit this information to the state. And this is really critical because you can see that every term I have to submit all these files to the state. And every year I have to submit like a financial aid or awards. And depending on the data that I submit, it's the fundings that we're going to receive back. So it's really critical to have the information in place before the due date because they have so many time down. Like right now, the server is going to be down during this time, and we have to submit it everything before this date. So it's really critical to understand and talk to the staff in order to be sure that the data is in place before the due date. So every area that I touch, I create like a data flow to show them how they could use Banner. In this case, I just want to show you a little bit about something that I create just for EOPS, but the same flow I created for the SPS, for CalWorks and so on, financial aid and more. So in this case, they use the Banner form as the EOPS to create a report, and they could use COVID report or Argos to pull it out that information. And their data should be ready for fall, should be ready by November 1st, for spring, April 1st, for summer, July 1st. So when the due date is past due, they have to create the EOPS report, and I have to submit that report to the state, and I will be able to see it. If they have errors, I have to go back to them to fix it. But if everything went through it, so the EOPS will have their data through the data mart available. So they could check the data as a state point of view, and they will send, the state will send that information to the different entities like IPED, ARC, and CPEC. So I create through the SharePoint. You can go to the banner.imperial.edu. I'm going to show you after all that if you go to the IVC MIS, you're going to see all the reports that are right here that we created for you to allow them to run your own report depending on your cohort. And at the top, you're going to see all the census office tools and all my presentation. I'm going to add it right here to allow you to download it and share with your college if you need it. But all this information, it's real-time data, so you can add a record and run again the report, and your record is going to be there. Banner.imperial.edu. So if you go to Argos and go to SharePoint, you're going to be able to see all the Argos report that we have recreated. So if you go to IVC, MIS, IVC data, you're going to see, like I just show you, all the reports that we currently have to allow you to do your work much easier, like the TIA courses, enrollment, CalWorks. And if you need anything, any change or any particular training for each cohort, just let me know, and I can talk to all of you to show you, you know, in a specific area with all the data elements that you have. Right here, what it's really critical to know, it's through this website. If you click on the data mart, you can run any report related to our information. In this case, we can run like a course report, and it will tell you everything related to the course. This is then protected, and I encourage to all of you to check this information because that allows you to see all the student services headcount, matriculation assessment, almost everything. It's right here. And I encourage to all of you to check that information and see if the data that state received is the same that you have it. Let's see, we're talking about EOPS. The head counts for the EOPS is really critical. If we report 800, but on real EOPS department have 1,000, so that means that we are 200 below that. So it's really critical for funding. So we just need to be sure that every student counts for funding purposes. So I encourage you to use this website, the Data Mart website, and check every single term that your head counts are accurate. Because otherwise, what is going to be happening is that you're going to receive less funding for your program.